My name is Mitch. I pastor a church called Christ Community Church. I also run a couple other businesses, C3 Sports, C3 Kids. And all these guys sitting behind me have all agreed to just share their story a little bit. And they're going to be talking about the community. The idea of this gathering was to talk about our community, State College. And before I do that, I just want to give a special thanks to Don Hampton, Michael Black for all they've done to set this thing up. They worked really, really hard. I would also like to just to be thankful for a moment that this is the 4th of July weekend. We have freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And we're so thankful that we live in a country like this. So glad that we can assemble and we can discuss things and talk about things and share things that we may not see eye to eye on, but because we live in a nation that accepts all different type of opinions, then it's just, it's what I enjoy about being an American. And the price that our forefathers paid. I also looked at a map. I don't know if you saw this map was on, I think it was on our Facebook postings, that they showed all the different religious emphasis in different parts of the country. They showed like Catholicism in the Northeast, Catholicism in Florida, the West. But they showed in the Southeast, it was all Baptist. They showed around Minnesota, Michigan areas, it was Lutheran. And then out in Utah places, it was Mormon. But across Pennsylvania, northern Indiana, northern Illinois, it was the most diverse religious background in the United States. So I think we can celebrate that we're in a very diverse religious state. That's Pennsylvania. I think also one of the things that we can celebrate is that this state was founded by a man who believed in religious freedom. His name was William Penn. And I read this book called The Seed of a Nation. And William Penn had the idea that this state would not just be a representative of state government, but it also would be a seed for governments of the nations. Yes. That he believed that all men could worship freely. Amen. That he believed that all men were equal. Yes. And he demonstrated it by the way he treated the Native Americans. William Penn, the proper Englishman, would go to the Indian feasts and festivals, and he would dance around the fire with them and eat their food. And other people considered the Indians to be savages. He says, no, they're equals to me. And I think that's part of the foundation for our state of Pennsylvania. Amen. Somehow we've fallen away from those things. But William Penn believed that God created all men equal. Having said that, I also was just at a public gathering the other week. Local corporation had this big gala, and they talked about things that make a community interesting and makes the people want to stay in a community. And you'll hear these gentlemen's story in just a minute. But they talk about the four factors that make people want to stay in a community. The first thing was they said they had social offerings. There was stuff for people to do. The second thing was openness, that people were willing to come and to accept different people, different groups, different types of people. The third thing was aesthetics, that it looked nice and clean and people wanted to be a part. And the fourth thing they had there after they had aesthetics was education. And I believe that we have all four of those things. The Gallup survey did this in all these communities. They said these factors are more important, get this, more important than your economy, than safety and leadership. So that's what makes a community a volunteer community. So I believe that we have that as a resource. So that was part of the genesis of coming together this afternoon, this hot, muggy Sunday afternoon, was to celebrate our community. We know we're not perfect as a community, but we can get better. We can have better things happen. So I've selected just different ones to come. And before I think I'll just wait for Rabbi Nassim in just a moment, but I'm going to share it now. There's Rick and Sue McCoy gave me this article about the city of Aaronsburg. Do you know where Aaronsburg is? It's 25 miles down the road. If you go out Highway 45. What makes Aaronsburg so significant is back in 1786, a guy by the name of Aaron Levy, who was a Jewish businessman from Philadelphia, had gotten a report that rural Pennsylvanians were very close-minded. Who would have thought? And he put it in his mind that he would go and buy a parcel of land. And when he bought the parcel of land, he wanted the residents in that area to lay it out and to build a school. And he donated a lot of part of the land to a Lutheran church. So you had the first time in the history of the state of Pennsylvania, maybe in the history of the United States, that a Jewish man bought land to give to a Christian church. I think that's amazing. I think that's really amazing. It gets even better. About 150 years later, that was 1786, in 1949, the press secretary for the then governor, the press secretary's name was Lewis, they were traveling through Aaronsburg, saw the story, said, we can make this a national event. They got all the people, because World War II had just ended, and there's all this trauma and tragedy that happened, the Holocaust, all these things. They wanted to celebrate the diversity that Pennsylvanians could get along. So they had over 30,000 people plus show up in Aaronsburg to celebrate the gift that Aaron Levy had given to the people of Aaronsburg. Let's give a hand. I just think it's amazing for Pennsylvania. Come on. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We have each one of these guys going to share just a few minutes, a little bit of their story. I get the privilege of getting to know these guys, just getting to know them better and better, and I'm so excited they were willing to come and participate with us in this. The first guy is Sally Dorr. He came from Ghana as an international student, got his degree in IST. His beautiful wife, Tisha, is sitting right over here. Tisha, wave your hands right there. There's Tisha. And they have 4 wonderful children. They could have moved anywhere in the world, and they chose to stay here at State College. Sel is an entrepreneur, a businessman. He does lots of things in the community, and so I thought Sel would share his story on why, as an international student, he chose to stay in State College, Pennsylvania. Give a hand for Sel.
Thank you, Pastor Mitch. Good to see you all here. We're talking about how hot it is. Well, where I came from, this is a cool day. So it's not really hot. But it's a privilege to share my story with you. And my wife and I have been batting around, well, what do you say? We're talking about loving your neighbor. And this is a fantastic community to grow up in, to raise kids in. I feel like I grew up in State College. I grew up in Ghana, but, you grow up when you grow up, right? You know what I mean? You grow up when you have to grow up. And that happened here in State College. But I want to share a story, an experience I had my very first day in the United States, where I actually walked out of an airport and kind of actually got into Terra Firma, United States. What happened? And this was at State College Airport. Got on the plane in Ghana. And I know some of this from my dad emailing me after the fact, but I was just a young 17, 18-year-old kid. I was in a suit and a tie, was excited to go to the U.S., never left the country of Ghana and West Africa, never left a day in my life. Didn't really know what I was getting into, but as kids are, I was an idealist. I was excited. I thought the world was my, playground. I could do whatever I wanted to do. It didn't hit me until years after how crazy it was that I got on a plane by myself at 17 years old and went thousands of miles away. Didn't know anybody here. Didn't have any family that was picking me up from the airport, nothing. And I thought it would be fine. I mean, that's nuts. But that's what I did. So anyway, fast forward, get here, and get out of the airplane, get through security, TSA, check bag, whatever. And I got into the lobby of our little airport. And how do I figure out how to get to University Park? That was the question in my mind. University Park's where I'm supposed to go. How do I get there? So there was a taxi driver getting somebody else. It was a flurry of international students. So taxi driver gave me this card. If you guys remember, in our community, we used to have these yellow cabs, and you dial 231 taxi before the days of Uber. How many of you remember that? Well, little problem. I didn't know what 231 taxi meant. They actually wrote the taxi, in alphabets. I didn't know how to dial that. So this guy gives me the card and says, call 231 taxi. Somebody will give you a ride to University Park campus. Well, I don't know what to do. So I'm standing literally in the middle. I don't know how to use a payphone. I mean, this is not meant to be a bad statement, but I'm fresh off the boat. I mean, I don't know what's going on. And a random stranger walks up to me. I'm sure they were observing this whole thing happen, and they looked at this young man with all his luggage, didn't know what he was doing. And they walked up to me and said, are you an international student? I said, yeah. They said, well, where do you have to get to? I said, University Park. I said it like that because, I don't know anything about the air. I didn't say State College, I said University Park. They said, well, we'll take you. So I remember it was a gentleman, a lady, and then I think they had a little kid and they had a dog. They had a red truck. I wish I'd kept their name. I don't remember them. And if you're here and it was you, find me afterwards. But they took me to East Halls on campus, bought me a pizza actually on the way, my first pizza in my life. I had cold pizza the next day, discovered the joys of America. But they took me, checked me in, made sure I got to my dorm. I'd never met these people before. They didn't know who I was. I still don't remember who they are. I don't have a name for them. They didn't do this because they were getting something out of it. They did this because that's the kind of community we live in. If that is not a demonstration of love, I don't know what is. You know, and I'm a Christian. In our faith, we have two great commandments. First is to love God with everything we have, all of our being. And the second is to love our neighbor as ourselves. One of the patriarchs, if you would, or the leaders of our faith, Apostle John, St. John, he said, if you say you love God but hate your brother, you are a liar. In other terms, it says, there is no truth in you. Because how can you love God who you don't see if you cannot love your neighbor who you do see? So why did Tisha and I choose to settle here? She's from the great state of New Jersey by way of California. We have to mention that part. Why did we choose to settle here? Because we have 4 beautiful kids, and we wouldn't want to raise them in any other community than this one. Why? Because everywhere we go, we feel welcomed, we feel loved. And if that story I told you about how I started in this community doesn't tell you, we are a community that loves one another. And this event is fantastic because we're demonstrating a full embrace. Whoever you are, however you are, you can belong here, and we will love you, and we will have dialogue with you. We don't have to agree on every single thing. We can agree to love one another. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Sal. Our next guest speaker, I'm so excited. Dr. Muhammad Susi, is that close? Is that close enough? Shizzy. Whatever. Okay, I'll get there. That's why he has to love me anyway. But he is one of 5 people from the nation of Afghanistan that is a forensic scientist. And I've got to tell this story to see the type of character this man is. When he came to Penn State, he lived in Port Matilda. He would walk 3 to 4 hours to go to class, spend the night, get his groceries, and walk back to Port Matilda. And he did that for months, if I remember correctly. He also was part of working with the U.S. coalition forces in Afghanistan, and he was looking for the crowd because he's always looking for suicide bombers. And he told me, he says, if I see any bad actors here, I'm going to take them down. So just let you know, we've got to watch this guy. But I've heard the story of all the things they've gone through, the trauma, moving their family, losing their home, losing their culture, everything's kind of gone. And so we went and spoke to the different Islamic groups, and Muhammad came and he said, Mitch, I'll speak. I'll stand up because I think we should love our neighbor, and I think our community is very important. So would you give a big hand to Dr. Muhammad Susi?
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. Thank you for it's an honor to be here, and thank you so much for the shared interest, love our neighbors. I'm Muhammad Rahman Shirzad, and me and my family was the part of the U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan. If you saw the giant airplane, like hundreds of people inside the airplane, and we were there. I was there with my son and my wife. Yeah. Thank you so much, and I wanna just divide my speech in 2 parts because I have only 10 minutes to finish. Yeah. The first part is how much the institutions and educational institution, religious institution, and other social institution is important in a community, in someone's life. And the second one is, I will share a little bit the part of my personal story. the institution mattered a lot when we, because like when we came from the United States, and we were always worrying like how to start like the life in United States. Like coming from Afghanistan was a challenge, and that time when we end up in a in state college, like we came after the collapse of the Afghanistan government, like with zero finance and nothing, and how much the institution was involved in resettlement of my family and all Afghan family was fantastic. They did everything we needed, and they support our family. They gave us a mental support, social support, emotional support, religious support, and everything. If I will not say that we I lost my family and I lost. I will say we rebuilt our family here. We rebuilt our community here at the State College, and this is very important for us. Yeah. The yeah, the a little bit about like I grew up in a war affected country, and I spent my whole life there, just like 3 and 4 years in the United States, and saw like a lot of things. And I was and the next thing, which was also more painful, that I was a forensic director in Afghanistan, directing Afghanistan forensic, which was a big challenge. And I direct Afghanistan forensic from 2015 to 2021 when I was leaving. And that time, like from 2015, before we had no forensics, and for the first time we start forensics, and it's a famous article in Los Angeles Times. The 4 scientists, 1 microscope is also talking about the Afghanistan forensics, and they are talking like how we get there. Yeah, I still remember that the pain like I still have, and we are still like managing those things. You know, like when you just like grabbing the fragments of your family members after the suicide attacks of the Taliban on my home. Yeah, and I did this, and I experienced those things, you know, like which was most painful. And myself, because I was supporting the United States government, and I was directly involved in forensic investigation, in forensics, and I was and myself I faced 3 suicide attacks, and every morning it's reminding me Afghanistan when I'm just like waking up because of some pains in my ribs, which were broken that time. Yeah, but anyway, life is great, life is good, and we are appreciating the efforts of the Roar Group, and the efforts of the the Jewish synagogue, the Christ Community Church, and every person of the State College, and every men and women, children, and everyone, they support us. They are supporting you. You guys are great people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mohammed, thank you. Thank you for your service working with the U.S. forces. Thank you so much. Means a lot to us. So thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we've got just a couple of great guests that I'm so excited to introduce you to. Also, I'd give a shout out to Paul Kramer for helping bring over. He organized, helping bring Afghans over here. So we're just so thankful that they've such a strong culture, and we just so love those guys and so appreciative. So thank you, Paul Kramer. Our next speaker is a businessman here in downtown State College. I was introduced to Michael Black several years ago through my friend Don Hampton. And Michael runs his own studio. He's a world-class photographer. He's got all this kind of cool stuff going on. But where I really got to know him was when he would get his son, who was in high school at the time, named Lake. They'd get up like at 5 a.m. and they'd come over to C3 Sports. You kind of drilled him like a basketball coach, didn't you? Your son, yeah, you know you did. That's right. And they worked out. I mean, they worked hard. They worked for hours in that gym. And then Michael helped us do some advertising for our C3 kids and stuff. And he's just a great guy. And he's the one that really coordinated this, because I was telling him my idea, and he was so encouraging to me. He says, Mitch, yeah, I think we can do it. He says, I think we can do this. I think we can come together, and we'd love to have the different ones, share. And so he arranged, he said the luncheon, had us all together, the organized luncheon. So if you give my friend Michael Black a big hand as he comes, the mayor of State College.
Good afternoon. I tend to use humor every once in a while. So, you know what's going to happen when you put a photographer and artist between a rabbi and a priest. You're going to get a really short speech. Don Hampton gave me this little piece of paper earlier, and he said, "Start with this: a photographer, a rabbi, and a Jew, or a photographer, a rabbi, and a priest walk into a bar, and then a love fest happens." I will get serious, but before, y'all know Mitch. He's a really nice guy and a big-hearted person. This is not my idea. This is Mitch's. Mitch has come to me many times over the years and asked, how can we blend the silos of communities, whether they're Christian or Jewish or Muslim or unaffiliated or not connected yet or disassociated or disenfranchised, and just really show support and build a stronger community. And so this is really Mitch's brainchild. It's not mine. I just help facilitate it. So thank you, Mitch. I just want to point out something that's apparently obvious to me, and sometimes not obvious to everyone that's out in the community. We talk about a loving community and a wonderful community and a safe community, and if you turn around, Officer Abramson is right back there. I see you. And I'm going to go out and go up on a stump for a second and say that there's been a lot of heat on police officers, but I can't think of a more difficult, unwanting job. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate you, and I know a lot of people do. It's a very dangerous job. Thank you. I'm also going to speak on behalf of many people I know where there was a movement to defund the police, and I will go out on a limb and say that's the opposite thing. If we can throw more money and more energy and more support at the people that risk their lives so we're safe, that is the way we need to go. All right. Thank you. Mitch reached out and said, can we get some people together? And Rabbi has also done the same thing, and many other people in the community have done that. And part of our community is faith-based, and some is not faith-based. And so it's really important to be able to connect faith-based people with non-faith-based people. And for some of you that really push the faith-based, I'd say non-faith-based yet, together, so that you can understand each other. So I thought this was a really good idea, and I also want to point out that even I'd like to say hello to everybody after this and after this talking part and be more of a listener. This is really more of an effort to have several moments where we get to interact with people that we ordinarily wouldn't get to interact with. And so let this be an encouragement or leadership by example to do more things. Invite someone over to dinner that you might not have to dinner, to your Shabbos dinner, to your Sunday dinner, to a birthday party. Just invite someone that you don't know or that you always want to have over. That's the effort behind this, is to expand your social circles, open your ears, and learn about people's stories. Muhammad's story, if you have time, that guy has been through it. His family, separation from his family, held hostage in a terrorist situation, seeing people next to him executed. It's really terrorizing and haunting. And he lives with that. And so he appreciates the things that sometimes bother us here is a luxury for Muhammad. And so it's all perspective, right? That this seems like a hot day for us, but not for Sel. It's all perspective. My big point also is that we talk about resources, and I've said this many, many times. The biggest resource in State College, Bellefonte, Phillipsburg, Clearfield, Center County, Central Pennsylvania, is you, is people. We are way stronger if we pull together and work together and be together instead of against each other. I'm going to share a quote that reflects that. And I'm not embarrassed to say that it's a Marvel Universe quote from T'Challa, the Black Panther. Now more than ever, the illusion of division threatens our very existence. We all know the truth. More connects us than separates us. In times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, before I introduce Rabbi Nassim, just to give you guys a heads up, Michael shared with you what we'd like to do is set up tables and just have you guys come and just talk with different people that maybe you hadn't a chance to interact with and just get to know one another and hear their stories because there's so much more. And I saw Norzai. Where'd Norzai go? Norzai, you can be with Muhammad at the table with those guys, okay? Because you guys got some impressive stories. I want people to hear it, okay? So we'll get you over there, all right? So Rabbi Nassim, I just met him again through Michael Black's introduction, and I have to admit, how many know that sometimes your life is full of biases? I got to tell you a quick one. I was in our C3 Sports Dome, and we had the celebration at the end of Ramadan for the Muslim community. And we had several hundred Muslims coming in, and I'm standing there watching these guys come in, all different ethnicities, cultures, languages, all over probably the continents of the world. They were coming in just to celebrate the end of Ramadan. And in my mind, I was going, I'm thinking terrorists, like I wonder if anybody's going to do something bad. And I realized that it was media perpetrated. That these guys aren't that way. And I watched the dads and the moms, the little children coming in, and I just felt like, there's something we need to do to be able to break down those barriers and those stereotypes. Right. Come on. In the same way, when you think about the Jewish community, they've been under attack on so many different fronts, especially since October 7th. And, sometimes you just need to know people that are a friend to you and people that may not know you, but they're for you. And Rabbi Nassim has been that kind of guy, but I have to admit, when I first met him, I just knew he was straight out of New York City. I just knew that's where he came from. And as we began to talk, he told me that he grew up in a retreat center in Oregon. And I'm like, okay, that blew my stereotype. I'm wrong again. I've been wrong all this time. But we got a chance to meet and talk, and I'm so impressed with his demeanor and character and representing the Jewish community, and we need to be strong and be united and to be a community. So we put out a vibe in our community that if you want to protest about your lack of rights or you're this or that, that's really not the vibe we got going here in State College. Amen. That we're going to find ways to love our neighbor. Yes. We're going to find ways to celebrate one another's successes. Yes. We're going to find ways that we can encourage one another, that we can make this a great community, okay? Amen. So give a big hand for Rabbi Nassim. Come on in, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a beautiful event. So great to see everyone that came out here. So hopefully I won't have to use my papers too much. Just a few thoughts connected to today and what we're doing here. Of course, I'm going to start off talking about We're here in Happy Valley and State College, and across the globe from us is the famous city of Jerusalem, which spans 3,000 years. Of course, going back almost 3,000 years ago, the first temple, second temple, and for the past 1,300 years, the city of Jerusalem, I think probably continuously, just about populations went up, went down, but was home to Jews, Muslims, Christians, and in fact, all three faiths, of course, consider Jerusalem a holy city. In Judaism, it's considered like the heart of the, we would call it maybe the heart of the world. And right now, the whole world is focused on this heart. So this event, of course, is called Love Your Neighbor, and love is usually associated with the heart. So the question is, practically speaking, how can we come to love our neighbor? So the verse, as was kind of mentioned earlier as well, that the title of the event is from, Love Your Neighbor. Of course, what's the continuation of the verse? Love your neighbor as yourself. Yes. The verse, it's in the Torah, it's in the Bible, it's a very famous verse. So this in and of itself, that we have the continuation of the words, love your neighbor as ourself, gives us a clue to how we can actually do it. So the question is, is this really possible that we can actually, love our fellow as ourselves? Like, how is that possible, or is it possible? So I think there's at least a couple tactics or methods that can be employed to accomplish this. First of all, we can remind us of our shared humanity. According to the Torah, to the Bible, we are all descendants of Noah, his wife, their three sons, and the three sons, three wives. So if you think about it, if you go back far enough, we're all brothers and sisters or cousins, whatever you want to call it. That's right. And when we remind ourselves of this, so just like we have an essential love for ourselves and for our immediate family, that's naturally, we love our brother, we love our parents, we love our children. So we can also bring out that similar love to our extended brothers, sisters, cousins, meaning every human we encounter. Amen. So that's the first thing. The second method is a little bit deeper. All of us share something in common, whether you want to call it a soul, a life force, an energy. All of us have something that keeps us alive, that animates us, that makes us move. That there's something there below the surface. We would call it a soul. So when we can get in touch with this part of ourselves, and not only look at the surface, not only look at the body, the bodily, the external, we're able to relate to other people in this way as well. I mean, we can, just like we're able to kind of tune in to our below the surface aspect, so we can tune into what's below the surface in other people and everyone we meet, and we can connect them on that level. We say, oh, I have a soul, they have a soul. In that way we're the same in a certain sense. It's connecting, of course, tuning into what unites us rather than separates us. The bodily levels, yeah, one of us might have dark eyebrows or bushy eyebrows. One of us might have this color eyes or this color eyes. But if you go below the surface, there's a lot more that unites. Jewish tradition teaches there will come a time when there'll be no jealousy, no hatred, no wars, no hunger. A world of good for all people. All people. That's good. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Schneerson, stated over 30 years ago that we are on the cusp already of this time period. And we can bring it about. That's good. If we want there to be no jealousy, no hatred, it starts with us, literally. Maybe if we can come to have compassion, curiosity, understanding for all parts of us we don't like even within ourselves, you can say, oh, I don't like this inner critic. I don't like this rageful part of myself. So I have a problem with that. So I might have a problem with other people outside me that also remind me of the parts of myself that I don't like. But if we can have compassion, understanding for those parts of ourselves, then we can have the same attitude towards people outside of ourselves. We can come to relate to ourselves in this way. We can come to relate to our spouse in this way. We can come to relate to our children this way. And we can come to relate to our entire community this way. And then one person at a time, we can bring about a world of good for all people.
Okay, this is the fun part. We kind of cut all of our comments short. You know, you give a preacher a microphone, you can go on, but what we'd like to do is we like to set up tables with different groups there and have you guys just come and just interact with the different ones. You know, you just talk to whoever you'd like to talk to. We got plenty of water down here, hang out, do some things. I saw Pastor McKenzie. Where'd Pastor McKenzie go? I think I saw him. He's back there. Pastor McKenzie, would you join Sal? You can be at the table over here. Would that be okay? Can you do that? Can you hang around a few more minutes? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we'll have Rabbi Nassim and Michael can head one of the tables so people can come up talk to you. That's okay. And Sal, you and Pastor McKenzie over there. And then Muhammad, you and Norzak. So you guys, what tables do you guys want? You care?
We just have 3 tables? Or?
Yeah. We got table there, table there, table there. I guess that middle table doesn't count. Okay, we'll go with those 2 tables. And we can use it.
Set up chairs around them.
Yeah, we can set up chairs. We can set up chairs. All right, so if you guys don't mind, we'll just go ahead and call this thing. I'll just kind of end it. Thank you all for coming out, listen to their stories. We'll see what we can do in the future. We just wanted to run a kind of a test run to see what the interest was, and you guys have responded well. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for being a part. Remember, love your neighbor. I got one last challenge, and I'll close. We have cold water here. What we'd like for you to do, the challenges for the month of July, is take 5 minutes in this next month and spend time talking to someone who may not be of your background, religion, ethnicity, and get to know them. Can you guys do that? The 5-minute challenge. We're asking for 5 minutes for somewhere in the month of July that you meet with someone that you haven't talked to, someone that you don't normally talk with. Spend time with them, talk with them, and get to know them. There's some fascinating stories out here that I'd love for you guys to hear, okay? So God bless you. You're dismissed. We're all done.